Hi there, and welcome to my video about the ColecoVision. When I was growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, everyone I knew that was lucky enough to have a home video game system had an Atari 2600. This meant that our home game experience looked like this. Don't get me wrong, this was great. It was a lot of fun. I loved playing these games, but it didn't quite capture the experience of the coin-operated machines. Then, in early 1983, my dad came home from work one day with a present for our family. It was a brand new ColecoVision. Suddenly, my home video game experience became this. The ColecoVision was an idea brought to reality by designer and engineer Eric Bromley. He and Coleco CEO Arnold Greenberg wanted to create an arcade-quality home gaming unit. Work began on this around 1979, but the design was too costly for mass production. It wasn't until the price of RAM chips dropped in 1981 that production could begin on the gaming unit with the working title of ColecoVision, a name that stuck right up until it was launched. The ColecoVision was officially released in North America in August of 1982. Due to the video game crash of the 1980s, it was discontinued in 1985, and Coleco withdrew from the video game market completely, eventually going bankrupt in 1988 and being sold off mostly to Canadian company SLM Action Sports and Hasbro. The ColecoVision CPU is a Zilog Z80 running at 3.58 MHz. Under the heatsink, there is a Texas Instruments TMS9928A video processor capable of a resolution of 256 by 192 and a color palette of 15 colors. The sound chip is a Texas Instruments SN76489A, which contains 3 square wave generators and 1 noise generator. The unit also contains 16 kilobytes of video RAM, 1 kilobyte of RAM, and 8 kilobytes of ROM. The games come on 8, 16, 24, or 32 kilobyte ROM cartridges that plug into the board here. One thing that made the ColecoVision unique was the expansion module interface located here. It was a connector that allowed for expanding the base unit with more hardware. The packed-in joysticks were a rectangular unit with 2 side fire buttons, a short joystick, and a 12-button keypad that could be fit with overlays for certain games. It was much like the Mattel Intellivision controller. The first expansion unit is the Atari Module. This allowed you to play almost any Atari 2600 game on your ColecoVision. Legal action was taken by Atari against Coleco, but everything was settled out of court. There was also a driving controller that was packed in with the game Turbo, but could be used with driving games like Bump and Jump and the Dukes of Hazzard. This expansion unit did not plug into the front, but rather plugged into the joystick ports. Also plugging into the joystick ports was the Super Action Controller. This unit had a hand grip with 4 fire buttons, and on top of the unit was a longer joystick, as well as a 12-button keypad and a speed roller, which was a 2-directional rolling controller. These Super Action controllers could be used with any game. There was also a Trackball Controller that was packaged with the game Slither a Centipede clone. This unit also plugged into the joystick ports, but included a switch so that it could be used with any games as a controller, not just those that used a trackball. There was a Super Game Module planned, but never released. This would have plugged into the expansion port and would have given the ColecoVision the ability to load games from small tapes, as well as an increase of 30 kilobytes of RAM. Instead, the Atom computer was released as a separate unit altogether, which fulfilled and surpassed the specs for the Super Game Module. This is my ColecoVision. Unfortunately, not the one that I had when I was a child, but it's one I picked up about a year and a half ago at an auction. In my opinion, these machines need to be played on older CRT TV sets. They just don't look as good running them into modern HD TVs. And CRTs are really cheap. I picked a couple of them up at a garage sale a little while ago for $1. I would not, however, recommend using the old signal converter boxes that these came with. Due to the age, the connections tend to get very iffy. You never get a good picture through them. I would, however, recommend a female coaxial to male RCA adapter for the best picture and sound on one of these old machines. It's pretty easy to use. You just have to plug a coaxial cable into the back, plug this into the back of your machine, and then into your TV. If Coleco hadn't discontinued the ColecoVision with its great sound and graphics and even greater expansion possibilities, who knows where it could have gone. Some people think if they had stuck with it, they may have had the same or better success than Nintendo. Look at what this console accomplished with an 8-bit processor. Can you imagine what it would have been like if it had survived to the 64-bit era? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this look back at the ColecoVision, keep an eye out for my future videos where I'll be looking at some of the great and not quite great games from this gaming platform. Did you play the ColecoVision when you were young, or just discover it on original or emulated hardware? What do you think of it? Let me know below. If you like this video, a like or subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Bye for now.